اسمك؟ عبد الله. لا عادي عبد الله 115. بأي ايد بتكتب يا عبد الله؟ هاي اعطيني الثانية. تعال. Taking blood glucose. We're using it as a measure of short-term hunger. Before we took hemoglobin levels as well to measure iron. We want to see if there is high levels of anemia because their diets aren't very diverse. They eat a few staple foods all the time. This is the last week of the program. So we've been cooking for 6 months, giving them meals that are complete meals. But we try to provide at least 25% of their vitamin and mineral requirements and 25% of protein and energy requirements as well. So this is a way to help them try to get used to going back to traditional way of eating because we give them traditional meals. But the young generation, what we're seeing is that they're moving away from traditions and now they're eating a lot more processed foods, junk foods. I said as an example of a village that's going through a transition. Their economy is more based on not agriculture, but they shifted from agriculture to quarries. So their economic situation is improving. They're being introduced to more Western foods and more processed foods that are more available than they used to be. Plus, it's easier for the parents as well. You know, it's easier for them to send money, for them to buy. Their financial situation is improving, however, their lifestyles are going backwards. The kids mostly, you see that with the kids. The parents eat traditional foods, but the kids don't like it because they're not used to it. So that's why we're trying to bring it back in a social context where they're eating with their classmates and maybe hoping that this will make them enjoy it more, like it more, accept it more, and eat it at home. From what I can see, there isn't a very high rate of stunting. There is a bit, but not as high as we expected. One thing that is increasing is overweight. So you see some of the stunting and some of the overweight, which is typical of a community like this that's going through a nutrition transition because they're not getting the right amounts of food and at the same time they're eating unhealthy foods. It's not malnutrition as in too skinny, it's malnutrition because it's the wrong kind of foods. So it's typical of Lebanon, I guess, because Lebanon is a developing country, but it wasn't typical of a rural village in Lebanon years back. Now we see that rural areas are also going towards this urban kind of diet. So that's why it's interesting because you would think that rural have their, you know, they stick to the traditional diets and they grow their own plants and their own vegetables and fruits, but it's decreasing a lot here.
نحن حكينا مع الأولاد قبل عن أهمية الفطور. نعرف إنه هذا عامل أساسي عند الأولاد حتى ينمي لهم الفكر الذهني.
Another thing we're doing is education as well. So we're educating the children about nutrition and about hygiene, food safety, and physical activity. So, and as well as the teachers and the parents.
كيف يخدموا على المدرسة؟ ما تعطوا مصاري مثلا هالقصص.
سيبنا بيجي بلا مصاري بيقول لك أنا ماني راضي. عندي واحد أنا بعطيه في دكان عند جيراننا بياخذ مصاري وبيجي.
بدنا نعوض الولد، هو الولد هلا بيتعود من هلا فبس يكبر بيتعود جسمه على كل شيء. هلا من نحن وصغار لازم نبلش نربيه على الغذاء الصحي.
They have sort of an awareness of what's healthy and what's not, but they aren't insisting that their children follow these guidelines. We're trying to stress the importance of making sure that their kids eat healthy the way they do because they eat healthy.